Every week, this channel gives us one clear sentence we can carry into Sabbath school class. This week's sentence is simple. The setback is never alone. Romans 5 gives us the memory verse. Tribulation produces perseverance. Perseverance produces character. Character produces hope. And hope does not disappoint, because God's love has been poured into our hearts by the Holy Spirit. That is the whole map. The lesson does not say, setbacks feel good. It says God is still present, and the setback can still produce hope. Now, many of us have prayed through a hard week and felt nothing, heard nothing, wondered if God was even listening. So, in this recap, we will hold one truth and test it against three witnesses: the boat, the road, and the silence. Jesus is in the boat when he looks asleep. Jesus is on the road before we recognize him. Jesus is present in the silence when we cannot find him in any direction. The setback is never alone. Lesson 11 is called Setbacks. Let's walk it. Before we walk a single day, settle the sentence that holds the week together. The setback is never alone. The lesson gives us three witnesses to that truth. First, Mark chapter 4, a boat, a storm, disciples bailing water, and Jesus asleep on a cushion in the stern. Second, Luke chapter 24, two grieving travelers on the Emmaus road, walking with a stranger they do not yet recognize. Third, Job, an ash heap, unanswered questions, and a Redeemer Job cannot see but refuses to release. One truth. Three witnesses. In the storm, the Master is in the boat. On the road, the companion is walking beside us. In the silence, the Redeemer still lives. The setback does not put us alone with our trouble. It reveals the one who has been there the whole time. Hold the sentence. Every day of this week comes back to it. Sunday takes us to Mark chapter 4, verses 35 through 41. Jesus tells the disciples, "Let us cross over to the other side." Halfway across the Sea of Galilee, a sudden squall hits. Waves break over the sides. Lifelong fishermen panic. They wake Jesus and say something that is really an accusation. "Teacher, do you not care that we are perishing?" That is our question too. Most of us have prayed something close to it in our own storms. Do you actually care? Are you actually here? The lesson asks us to notice what Jesus does. He does not rebuke the question. He stands up. He speaks one sentence to the storm. "Peace, be still," and the wind dies. Then he asks them, "Why are you so fearful? How is it that you have no faith?" The question is heard, not condemned. He answered it. And he answers ours. The picture that stays Jesus was in the boat. Asleep, but not absent. The same boat that held the panic also held the peace. Jesus is in the boat. Even when he looks asleep. He has not moved. Monday turns to Mark chapter 5. A woman with 12 years of hemorrhaging. 12 years of being ritually unclean, unable to touch another person or be embraced by family. 12 years alone, with a setback that would not lift. She hears Jesus is in town. She does not stand at the edge of the road and hope he looks her way. She pushes into the press. Through the dust. She has decided that if she can just reach the hem of his robe, that will be enough. She reaches. She is healed instantly. Jesus turns and asks, "Who touched my clothes?" The disciples say, "Look at this crowd, everyone is touching you." But Jesus knew the difference. Many had brushed against him. One had reached for him. The crowd was casual. She was specific. He felt the difference. Then Monday sets Matthew 11, verse 28, beside her story. Come to me, all you who labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest. The boat is open. The hem is reachable. The invitation is for now, not after we have our act together. Now. Because the setback is never alone, the next faithful move is not to wait until we feel strong. It is to reach for Him. Tuesday takes us into the hardest book in the Bible, Job. In a single afternoon, Job loses his wealth, his servants, his livestock, his sons and daughters. Within days, he loses his health, sores from head to foot, sitting in the ashes. His friends arrive and start to suspect that hardship like this must mean Job has done something wrong. There must be hidden sin. Compassion that cannot sit with mystery turns to accusation. Most of us have been Job for someone, and most of us have been the friend. The lesson asks us to be the better friend. Then Job says one of the brightest sentences in the Old Testament. Job 19:25. For I know that my Redeemer lives, and in chapter 23 he is even more honest. Behold, I go forward, but he is not there, and backward, but I cannot perceive him. But he knows the way that I take. Read that twice. Job admits he cannot find God in any direction he turns. The silence is real. He does not pretend otherwise. And then he says, but he knows the way that I take, not, but I know where he is. Job does not know. Job is honest about not knowing. But Job knows that he is known. The master Job could not see in any direction was the master who was there. The Redeemer lives. Even in the silence. He has not moved. Wednesday opens on the afternoon of the resurrection. Luke chapter 24. 2 disciples walking from Jerusalem to Emmaus, about 7 miles away. They are grieving. The cross was 3 days ago. The empty tomb has been reported, but they do not yet know what to make of it. Their greatest setback was not just a hard thing happening, it was that the one they had loved was dead, and their picture of how the story was supposed to end had died with him. While they walk, the verse says, Jesus himself drew near and went with them. But their eyes were restrained, so that they did not know him. The companion was there. The grief blocked the recognition. He does not announce himself. He asks what they have been talking about. He listens. The one who knew every detail asks them to tell him. He could have explained the whole story in a single sentence. He chose the walk first. Then, beginning at Moses and all the prophets, he opens the scriptures and shows them that the cross was the plan all along. Their hearts begin to burn within them. They still do not recognize him. But something deeper is happening. The stranger is rebuilding their picture of God. Sometimes Jesus walks with us long before we recognize him. Sometimes the heart knows before the eyes do. Thursday brings us to 2 verses the lesson wants us to read carefully because they are often quoted carelessly. Romans chapter 8, verse 18. I consider that the sufferings of this present time are not worthy to be compared with the glory which shall be revealed in us. Paul is not saying our suffering does not matter. He is saying the suffering is going to be outweighed by a glory whose mass is greater than the mass of our sorrow. Then verse 28. And we know that all things work together for good to those who love God. Paul does not say all things are good. He does not say cancer is good. He does not say bereavement is good. He says all things work together for good. The verb is the work. God works. He takes the broken pieces, the things that are not good, and weaves them into something that ends in good. The setback inside the larger story will be redeemed. God works all things, not just the good ones. All. That is the promise. Then comes the gentlest verse in the chapter. Romans 8, verse 26. The Spirit also helps in our weaknesses. For we do not know what we should pray for as we ought, but the Spirit Himself makes intercession for us, with groanings which cannot be uttered. Read that twice. We do not know what we should pray for as we ought. Paul is naming what every honest believer in a setback has felt, the prayer that will not come out right, the words that keep dying in our throat before they reach the ceiling, the blank silence where the prayer should be. He does not call that a failure of faith. He calls it weakness, the kind that comes from being human, not from being unfaithful. And then he says it. The Spirit Himself makes intercession for us, with groanings which cannot be uttered. In the seasons when we cannot find the words, the Spirit prays them for us. From inside us. With sighs too deep for language. We are never praying alone in the silence. The Spirit is praying with us, and sometimes for us, when we have nothing left. The prayer is not gone. The prayer is just on the lips of someone closer to us than our own breath. Friday closes with the inside story. A man named Zeth. He lives in Indonesia. Right after his baptism, he made a plan with his wife. They would pray daily for their relatives, visit them, offer Bible studies. In the first year, 13 relatives were baptized, including his own sister. Then COVID closed the islands. He could have stopped. Instead, he started visiting 3 families a day on a motorcycle, with his 2 small children riding along. Imagine that picture. The motorcycle weaving through Indonesian streets. 2 small children. A father carrying the mission while the world was locked down. Today, 14% of his 50-person prayer list have been baptized. The setback, the lockdown, the isolation, the slow results did not stop the mission. It changed the shape of the mission. That is why the class sentence matters. The setback is never alone. Grace kept arriving in the new shape. Persistence through setback does not always look dramatic. Sometimes it is just a motorcycle and 2 children and a list of names worth praying for. Now gather the week into one sentence. The setback is never alone. The lesson gave us 3 witnesses. The boat. The road. The silence. In the storm, the master is asleep in the boat. We thought he did not care. He was in the boat the whole time. On the road, the master is the companion, walking unrecognized beside us. We thought he was gone. He was on the road the whole time. In the silence, the Redeemer is the one Job could not see in any direction. We thought he had left. He was in the silence the whole time. One truth. 3 witnesses. The master we cannot see is the master who is there. Tribulation produces perseverance. Perseverance produces character. Character produces hope. And hope does not disappoint because the love of God has been poured out into our hearts. The boat is not empty. The road is not lonely. The silence is not abandoned. He is with us. Now bring it home. 3 questions to carry into class today. First, which witness fits where we are this week? The boat, the road, or the silence? Second, are we reaching for him or just drifting near him? The woman pressed through. We can too. Third, if the prayer will not come, do we remember Romans 8, verse 26? The Spirit prays with groanings too deep for words. We are never praying alone. Whichever witness lands hardest is where this lesson meets us. Bring the class sentence with you. The setback is never alone. That is Sabbath School Lesson 11 in this recap. If we want the full deep dive walkthrough, the complete Lesson 11 study is linked in the description. Subscribe to the Verse Atlas with the bell on for next week's recap of Lesson 12. Share him. And if this study helped us today, a like helps other Adventists find it too. If someone in our class is walking through a setback this week, send them this sentence. The setback is never alone. Before we go, drop one word in the comments. Boat, road, or silence. Which one are we walking through this week? The pinned comment below has the full deep dive link, plus a free weekly Sabbath School companion note for anyone who would like one quiet page each Wednesday. He has not moved. He never did. He has been there the whole time. God bless your Sabbath.